we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, this is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
Welcome into another special viewing of Discussion Combustion Podcast. We have a long-term friend and returning guest, Mike Pachan here. And I want to start this one off by saying that this show is for entertainment purposes. And today we might be talking about some triggering subjects, but frankly, it is my duty. I can only speak for myself. It's my duty to have these type of conversations and not be silent about what is going on in the world. And actually, I'm really looking forward to hearing your opinion on things, Mike. So we're going to get into the current atmosphere of the world, a lot of these things that have been coming out recently over the past weeks, and it turns out that a lot of the things that Mr. Mike was talking about was true. So that's my quick intro.
There we go. Well, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Doing great. You know, before we doom dive here.
Doom dive.
Everything's good with you?
Yeah, we're crushing. You know, all things considered, it's like these days anyone in the now is sort of living a Clark Kent routine where you like show up and go to work and then have like your doom cape on at the same time, you know? So it's like a duality for any of us that are paying attention. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, doing well. Wife's doing good. Property's doing good.
Business is good.
Business is good, you know, and maybe that's kind of the focus of the conversation tonight is like, hey, let's just pull this cavity and get back to being a healthy country again. Because for the most part, I feel like everyone's doing good other than the externalities.
Yeah, and it's like the elephant in the room. Like, people know it's there. People know things are happening, but it's like cognitive dissonance, right? The fear of new information or information that challenges a narrative that they previously subscribed to.
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, it is. And I've also, kind of rolled around the concept that it's sort of like, remember watching Cops in the 80s and 90s? Like,
it's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah. Like, my parents would go out on a date night and we'd turn Cops on, and sit there and watch Cops. And when they would show up to, like, a trailer and a woman is being abused, right? What's the first thing that woman says? She comes running out of the trailer. I don't know why you're here. He loves me. You leave, I'm going back inside, right? Like, when you're in an abuse cycle, you tend to protect the abuser, and we need people to just, just snap out of it, go, I'm being abused. There's a different path. I'm going to make a choice and take the path.
Right.
Like,
and commit
collectively, that would be, by the time we would chat next year, the whole thing would be changed, and we'd be on a different course.
A better trajectory.
But how many times when we watch Cops did that woman ever do that then and there?
Yeah.
True.
Right.
That's a good analogy.
On the from like a micro perspective to a macro, it's super hard for people to pull out of an abuse cycle. To your point, it's easier to just accept it and continue the abuse than it is to like confront it personally, get out of it, deal with those short-term consequences for long-term progress.
Sure. Yeah, and I think too, like, just human behavior, until it affects them directly.
Yeah.
Directly impacts their day-to-day or their loved one or somebody.
I would say that too.
That's when people seem to kind of care a little bit more. We've seen so many things. You've been on the show for, what is this, your 12th appearance?
Yeah, it's insane. Like 7 years or something.
7 years.
Yeah.
And obviously in the beginning we talked more business, and then we started going to, what do we call them, the Doom series?
Yeah, it's like a Doom loop.
Doom loop?
Because we're in a cyclical process here.
We're
in the doomy part of it.
2 elections, all the politics, we've covered all that nonsense on here. But the stuff that's coming out since your last visit that we touched on then that we knew was coming, it's gotten pretty muddy.
Yeah, it's obfuscated too, and that's where the average everyday person who can hear, we'll say Big E tonight, so a gentleman whose last name starts with E, we'll say Big E,
all right,
in the Big E files, and they hear about it, either A, their brain can't go there, and I'm actually hearing people snicker and sort of like, haha, this can't be real, or if they accept it as real, they ask themselves that. It doesn't directly affect me, although I can see the social consequences, but again, it's easier for me to continue forward and not make a stink. And things have gotten so obfuscated with the onset of the bureaucratic state, which we touched on in our talks about communism, that people don't even feel like they can make a direct change. So therefore they continue to go in the direction that the momentum is pushing them. And even with these revelations, the momentum is still going in the ultimate direction.
Would you consider that to be like a form of social assimilation?
Yeah.
Kind of, stay in line, do what you're told.
Yes.
Go to work, pay your taxes. Don't look over here.
Yep.
It's kind of what we've been groomed.
Yeah, being groomed, and when someone like myself 30, 40, 20 years ago would have told people you're mind controlled, your brains, they control your brain, people would have laughed and been like, what are you talking about? I decided when I wanted to wake up. I decided where and when to go to work. Like, I make all these decisions, but they were making them essentially on a leash, being pushed down the sidewalk they were supposed to be on, thinking they were making their own decisions. And I think that moment has triggered in a lot of people's brains in seeing what's in those big E files, and they go, whoa, it's that bad.
Yeah.
Yup. And everyone has seen the signs. Not everyone has agreed in their brain to recognize them.
Well, and even at the time, 2019, when Biggie, didn't off himself.
Yes.
We knew enough then, 6-7 years ago at this point, when he was arrested and pending charges and all this, that it was getting ugly then.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people had information then, things that they had experienced, the whistleblowers, if you will.
Yep.
And again, because there's so many big names that are tied to it, big corporations, big stock traders,
large,
Prince Andrew, the list goes on, right? Then it became a cover-up. Yep. Right? Or kind of protecting this. Don't look over here. The Dow's at 50,000.
Yeah. And also just listen to the words that get used. Like, we still refer, and when I say we, the royal we, it's still called a scandal, and people aren't even, because we've spoken about language in previous podcasts as well, when we touched on cultural Marxism and who controls the language also controls the momentum. It's not a scandal. It's torture. Like, even in using the right words, that still isn't being done at this point in present time, which to me is reflective of the momentum is still going in the direction of the ultimate place that we're headed to.
So it just hit me, this question. Have you heard of Tartaria?
Yes.
So that's something that I've heard of more recently. And one thing that culture was Central Asia, and was this whole empire had the Tesla towers, free energy, and I've heard stuff about how the Second World War was basically to destroy that infrastructure and remove Tartaria. It's on old maps. If you find old maps, you can see Tartaria on there.
It is.
And so there's so many different narratives since we're children, through music, through TV, through social media, even Google searches. I believe all of that is conditional programming to anybody who is not willing to challenge what they're hearing. And when this the big E-files were originally getting teased, of course it's an uncomfortable conversation, but in the past couple weeks when more came out, I went through a little struggle with it, where at first I wanted to shelter, and I'm not going to ruin my energy by looking into this. But then I started to realize that it was a disservice for me to withhold some of the information I was receiving. First of all, I don't fully trust anything I hear anymore. So, there's that. But then also, it came to me that it's my duty to bring this up and make sure that people are having a conversation of how this is unacceptable. And even if all the other things are not true, to have those type of relations with children is enough for me to dislike those people. And so I went through my own thing where it's how am I supposed to show up to work right now when I'm digesting this? So I just kind of want to share my story with that. And Tartaria apparently was had all these ways to help their people and sustainment and healthy lives, and so there's a lot to unpack here.
So Adapt 2030 is a YouTube channel that I watch, and he talks about weather cycles, and we touched on his channel when we spoke on 400-year weather cycles. I trust him quite a bit because I've been watching him for almost 10 years now, and I go through and look at the data and information he presents, and then I find multiple confirmations on it. He was overseas in the Europe-ish zone, and he was documenting maps over there specifically on this trip, and he found a multitude of maps and globes aged and dated correctly with Tartaria on them.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting confirmation there. It's part of the program, and we touched on in a previous episode, God is checked out and the devil is taking control. All it takes for evil to set in is the indifference of good men. So for people to not start to talk about this stuff and not recognize it, that it's true, is only allowing that door to continue to remain
Completely
open.
Agree. Mm-hmm.
And I'm hopeful that with the Big E files, and theoretically people seem pretty latched onto it because of the depth of information there in a bad sense, that people don't let this go. I think you can already see the next pivot is brewing, whether it's Cuba or Venezuela or Iran or a financial collapse. Like, what is going to come our way to get people to stop, let that bone down, and pick up the next one? And I'm hopeful that people don't, because at the core of what we've talked about over the past 7 years, what you're seeing in the Big E files is like that neutron core to it, that center mass where everything else is radiating out in front. And if you really go back and listen to our episodes, what they're doing in those files in a micro sense of one-on-one activity, they've convinced the masses to do on a broad spectrum, and more people are participating in what's in those files than what people think.
Yeah.
And we need to cut that out so we can have more of a promised land, whether, you refer to that in biblical terms or historic terms like a Tartaria.
Yeah, so what's the roadmap to get there? Because we all, as a hold your breath moment, the files are coming, they're coming, they're redacted, here's some info, here's some more. It's like a slow release, right?
Yep.
Some people are taking it and getting aggressive with it, talking about it on a podcast. People are marching, they're fired up about it, of course.
Yes.
But how do you drain the swamp, if you will? How do people get held accountable?
I don't have a direct answer for that I can say into a microphone. I think historically speaking, countries have slammed on the brakes and came to a sudden halt in the past. We're constitutionally allowed to do that here, but we're also are not a constitutional republic anymore. So in our current sense, I don't know. Because A, I don't think people have the stomach for it. B, we're not as self-sufficient as we were in historic times. So people need, if you look at the Big E files and the industries that are controlled by the people in those files, it's all the water, all the electric, all the food, all the internet, all the cell phones, all the gasoline. It's all of it.
The essentials.
Yeah.
It's all of it. It's all controlled.
Which is highly concerning.
Highly concerning, correct.
Yeah. And so it's like...
So I don't, sorry to interrupt.
No, please,
I don't think we've hit the bottom yet, is my point in that.
We're in the pivot.
Yeah.
We're seeing how people are going to handle the information and what they do with it.
Yeah.
Well, I still feel like people are not brave enough to acknowledge this information.
To accept that it's real.
Yeah.
Because it is very disturbing, very uncomfortable. And
it's awful.
And it's also extremely disturbing that you think about it. It's like, okay, what? So now I shouldn't watch any Netflix. So now my favorite musician, I shouldn't listen to their music. So now I shouldn't be buying Reese's. It's everything.
It's everything.
And that's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is. And it's also, again, part of the central planning that goes into a system like this is, if you tell a lie big enough, people will believe it. It's easier to fool man than convince they're fooled. And one death is a tragedy, 10,000 is a statistic. Mm-hmm. And all those quotes hold true, and they're all kind of piled up just in this one piece of subject, right? This one subject matter.
Well, who was it that said it many, many moons ago? If you keep them fed and give them a circus, the people will never revolt.
Yeah, bread and circuses.
Essentially,
right?
where
Let
we're at.
the people eat cake.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't worry about what's going on. You're fed. You're entertained.
Yeah, and from sort of a political standpoint, right? The supposed people that were going to make this country great again, who were all about this release, are now ignoring it, and the people who said it was a conspiracy theory are now all about it, and they're both bird pecking at it to pull out what's necessary to make those arguments. So that has also not changed in any sense. And when we spoke about pre-World War II history and the central banking cartels dividing people into us and them so they could control it. I mean, we're right back to that. It's very us and them right now, and no one's really hitting in those camps. Neither of them are hitting the nail on the head square. They're dancing around that nail.
It's because they're gonna have to burn if they do it. Like if
they have to burn a lot of their identity, and that goes back to the identity politics piece that we've spoke on, and also the profitability in identity politics when you couple it with social media. I mean, we've all seen, if people get paid $7,000 a post to compliment our greatest ally, right? And other people get paid $10,000 a month to just use one social media platform. The money's so good for those what people call influencers that they're not going to burn their cash crop either.
Yeah, it's a cesspool. It is, because you got people digging for the right info and exposing all of it, like you said, instead of cherry picking it to prove a narrative or say, well, your side did this, but our side is completely exonerated.
Totally.
When that's not at all true.
Yeah, and drawing these weird lines of proximity of, names inside of there, or this person was never on the island. You were in the group.
You were there.
You were in the group. And as my friend groups have changed, and moved around throughout the years, I was very much like the friend groups I was hanging out with at that time.
True.
It doesn't mean I went as sendy in some parts of it as other people, but I accepted their behavior and knew what was going on. I don't want to hear that you didn't accept it and you didn't know that it was going on at all.
Well, then, you're risking your life almost if you are in the position to be blackmailed and then you want to blow the whistle. Like, I honestly, after seeing a lot of stuff, Michael Jackson, R.I.P., I truly believe he was protecting people now.
I would agree with that.
I truly believe that, and they were slandering
because his
him.
name's not in there.
Yeah, and it was all over the media. The media was controlling this narrative about Michael Jackson and how he was doing this stuff with kids at the Neverland Ranch. And then you got people like Macaulay Culkin speaking up saying, no, he actually saved me from what was happening on the island.
Yep.
And so it's just, there's so many areas which is, it's... When I was young, I wanted to trust everything and believed that people had my best intention in mind. And it's just really not that. It's not that way.
No, it isn't really. And if you want to start to scrape the surface into some kind of theological aspects of it, if you look at old art from biblical era, right, and they show children surrounded by adults and they're doing very, very bad things to them, that stuff was going on back then. Ancient tribal organizations, Aztecish, if you want to paint a picture in your head, they were all about child sacrifice, right? So when Christ died and he said, let this be the last sacrifice, you now eat bread and wine at church is a symbol of my body, not actually consuming me. It was a literal statement, right? Because that's what was going on, these practices. And obviously, we could do another 6 years and dive deeper into religion and where it's gone because it's now a power center. But if you step back and scratch the surface on some of that and then reflect in the behavior in the big E files, what you're seeing is very demonic and satanic practices at their core, which have been going on for hundreds and thousands of years, right? The occult, the hidden agenda is real, and now it's coming to light. But it's a decision of where do we go with this information.
Well, we've been kind of touching on it for the 7 years we've done the show. I first heard about it, getting pizza, whatever that code word
pizza,
is.
Right.
Cheese pizza.
CP.
Beef jerky.
Yep.
There's been a lot of code words thrown around in the e-files that just don't add up.
Right.
Going all the way back to like 2011.
Yep.
Right when smartphones became smart enough to like record video, text messages and stuff like that, because that's where we're seeing a lot of this stuff.
Right.
Images are coming out of what looks to be cannibalistic results to the face after consuming human meat and things of that nature, and it's wild to think about.
Yeah, and again, I mean, just to continue to touch on some theology here, nothing new under the sun. Right. So it was really just a matter of again reflecting on some previous podcasts, and we talked about how do they inject communism into the culture slowly. They show you all these technological wow moments and then say, well, if we can do this, trust us, take your culture here. And really what they were doing was saying, We're progressing, so put your head down. Don't pay attention to what we're doing here and think we're going in a proper manner, which is significantly less traditional. And that curtain has now been pulled back because now people are seeing it. I mean, I have my Good Goy shirt on, right? Read in the e-files. Goy and Goyim is all over those. They're calling us subhuman animals the whole time that they're doing this inside of our country and to our people.
Yeah.
And they're mocking us. They see us as lessers.
Well, and they flat out said that in the files. They were like, what are we going to do about the poors? What are we going to do about the less fortunate?
They were talking about shooting black people and not being so kind with their words in describing black people.
Yeah.
Right?
One thing that has really stood out to me as far as like an emotion I felt with this is I truly believe that there is a spiritual war happening right now.
100%.
So I do believe in a higher power. I don't follow one religion at all, but over the past month, like I really have been trying to tap in more with the higher energy, especially like going out on walks and just being present, and like because there is love and there is life and beauty on this planet, right? But we have to be warriors of the light right now, like never before, because like you're saying, it's the devil's playground. Like, and a lot of the things that I'm thinking now, I would have thought was like crazy conspiracy, like. But now in this current atmosphere, like I'm trying to get more right with the divine energies that I believe exist, because we all need to protect our family's energy right now, and we need to forget about politics because they're all in cahoots together. So like I really feel like there is a spiritual battleground that is occurring.
Well, and it's
in every
reflective on what
right
do we
now.
call politicians on the last episode, and I put a word to them: war fighters. Right? They know they're in a war and they're fighting it.
They're holding on for dear life.
They know they're in a war and they're fighting it. 100%. They've waged a war against us and they're in the war, and they understand that it is a war and it is a fight.
Well, and they're bought. They're paid to do that.
Yeah.
Right. They're so far into the system, being indoctrinated into what we call American politics,
Yep.
Representing constituents, when really the interests have nothing to do with that at all.
Nothing at all. Yeah, and it's even beyond, when you say bought, it's even beyond money. It's a selling of the soul. And as you can see in the Big E files, there's no bottom to evil, right? So when we spoke on communism, it's a battle of purity. Well, I'm more oppressed than you, so now that makes you the oppressor, so now I wage war against you. Well, I'm more oppressed than you, so now you're the oppressor, so I wage war on you. With evil, it's the same thing. I art a child. Cool. I art and teed a child. Cool. I art and teed a child and K'd a child. Cool. I art a child, teed a child, K'd a child, ate a child. Right? You can see there's no bottom to any of this at all. It's an amplification to see who could be the most pure. And when I say pure, think of it not like in a sense of cleanliness, but a sense of darkness.
Like pure evil.
Pure evil, 100%. Yeah.
It's upon us. Like,
yeah.
Anyone who's listening to this conversation, taking it seriously, like, even if you're not religious, I say get right with the positive energies. Like, because we need to counterbalance this a little bit, a lot of it. And as an individual, it's like, what kind of impact can I make? Well, have respectful conversations about this type of stuff. Protect your family's energy. Maybe stop watching Netflix so much. Like, choose where you're getting your media, because if everybody came together and started boycotting certain things, and
which we're seeing.
Yeah, we are seeing some of that,
Yeah.
like with some food and stuff as well in a lot of areas. Like, I don't know, because I'm struggling, like, what do I do? And so I'm trying to like say my questions and kind of what I've been doing as far as my answers, but like we have to have our head on a swivel right now and protect our loved ones and our friends, like with the energy.
And also not allowing, just because right now they're in the same pattern that they're always in, and people are amplifying results from this. Well, this person resigned from their job, or they arrested this person. So what? So what? A lot of these people have been arrested and had to quit their jobs before. So what? Where is that going, and what is the ultimate accountability for those people? Let me see that before I get excited and start to dilute what I'm feeling right now. Because what I'm feeling right now is not solved by someone resigning from their job. I don't care.
I like China's new policy on pedophilia.
100%.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's setting the standard.
It's
that this
setting
is completely
a standard.
unacceptable.
Yeah, it's completely unacceptable.
No gray area.
It's demonic rot. Get it out, right? So, it's exciting to see people start to have their aha moments and wake up, but it's also at a point in time where it's still super easy to pivot the conversation and shift the whole thing away. And also, the people in the Big E files, they feed off destruction, and look how much potential destruction is all around us. And then there's subsegments of people cheering on that potential destruction. Like, we have to go bomb Iran now? Why? What are we doing here? There's so many things being set up that are destructive, and that's what this energy is feeding off, is destruction.
Well, and then, like we said last week, you sent me that funny meme. It's like standing on Epstein's Island. Hey, look over there.
Yeah, aliens.
The UFOs.
Right. Yeah, now we're concerned about aliens.
Obama said something in that line, and then Trump came out and said, well, now we're going to release the files.
Yeah, now. And again, people are jumping on that. Oh, this is going to destroy the swamp, drain the swamp, destroy the deep state. The JFK files did nothing because they were partially haphazardly released. MLK files did nothing. E-files have done nothing. So what are we worried about? Alien? None of these other ones have... Nothing has came. It's just all old information.
Nobody cares. Nothing changes. No one gets in trouble. No one gives a shit.
Correct.
But
And it's just thing after thing after thing.
Right.
Okay, tell me this isn't manufactured. You buy green tea to be healthy, and then you buy this big old thing of green tea, and then it comes in plastic bags, which you brew it in. That creates all these microplastics in your healthy green tea. And then there's studies coming out where it's like the microplastics found in Alzheimer's dementia patients was much higher. And then you're drinking out of water bottles, the Starbucks cups, the food that they service. Plastic, the microplastics is also a war on our health that I believe people are starting to wake up to. That's just one.
Yeah, and it just keeps going back up to the higher level of, irregardless of what example you're pointing to, there is, for a fact, a planned destruction of the West in all things. It was just shown declassified 1950 CIA files in which they're talking about we're going to hide poisons in Coca-Colas, sodas, food, vaccine, right? And they didn't say goy, but they're referring to us like we're goy, like we're dumb subhuman cows. So they've been talking about this since post-World War II, which we've touched on several times. This is the plan. The microplastics are the plan. The child R&T is the plan. The V schedules are the plans. The stratospheric aerosol injections is the plan.
Chemtrails.
Yes. The 40 trillion in debt is the plan. So irregardless of what example you're pulling out, that is the plan. And really, people at this time should come up a few levels and solidify that. Wow, there's a war on for my mind and my body and my soul. Yes, agree to that, and then look at what changes you can make to step away from or pull back on that.
Control the controllables.
Control the controllables. I mean, it was just shown the latest study, and there's been plenty of them, but this one made the news that, yes, our brains emit electromagnetic pulses. That's how we have intuition, right? It's how twins kind of know what they're thinking and talking about. Okay, well, during COVID-19 and people took the V's into their body, it crossed the blood-brain barrier, and it was full of graphene oxide and nanotech. What do you think that's doing to those EMP waves? It's probably disrupting them and taking away your natural soul and humanity. That's the plan. That's what's in those files.
Sure.
It's showing the demonic nature of what every single person on this planet is forced to go through day to day.
I heard another one that's talking about the electromagnetic signals, and especially phones that do the face reading ID, has these projections that disconnect our connectability. And so you think about someone just sitting there doom scrolling, and I've done it. I never feel good. My energy is always low after I scroll for a long time.
Yeah.
But then also the devices that we carry around and are always looking at, and there's a lot of people's binkies. They can't even have a conversation without needing to look at their phone. That is also part of the plan.
100%.
Polyester in this shirt. Like, I'm really considering, like, getting a bunch of, like...
all cotton.
Yeah, all hemp or cotton or, like, linen. My whole wardrobe is microplastics within my fabrics, and that also decreases my output of energy. And, like, if it's truly a war of, like, energy and right versus wrong, like, and they're decreasing people's frequency by technology, the food, the clothing, the detergent that you use, how you wash your dishes,
air fresheners,
yeah, the whole nine. So
it's crazy.
So, like, ebb and flow over the next week or two of all these examples you're giving, and then find in a macro, and then you'll find the micro examples in the Big E files. Everything that he was having people on the island to do, hey, you XYZ, come to the island and do this. It's a one-on-one experience. People are now trained to do it a large scale. Right, like the eating the babies, the cannibalism. Look up how Pepsi gets their sweeteners. It's from aborted baby kidney cells. So technically, if you go on that small level, you're consuming aborted baby fetal cells in a Pepsi and Gatorade, which technically is cannibalism in a mass look at it.
See, this is one of those ones that I'd be like, Mike's crazy for saying this. In the past, I'd be like, this dude's crazy. But, like, now, it wouldn't surprise me if that's accurate.
Yeah, the company starts with an SCH. I couldn't remember it for the show, but they use that to tweak sweeteners in food, right? So if you look at what's going on in the Big E files on the macro, and when I say a micro, I don't mean like small, like what they were doing that child was a small behavior, but like a one-on-one sense, they've convinced the masses to do on a large scale.
And got commercials about it, and people crave it.
100%.
Like I know McDonald's is horrible. I'll eat McDonald's. I am craving McDonald's. Like, it's manufactured.
Yeah.
It's drugs.
Yeah, it's drugs. There you go. They were doing drugs.
Legal drugs.
Yeah, and dumbing people down and the whole nine. Yeah. So
yeah, I think 2020 was a big turning point for a lot of it, and I've kind of commented on that before. Just we know what took place during that time period, and I think that's when people made the choice to either continue to follow the narrative or to pave their own path.
Yeah.
Right, and start doing their own research and making their own decisions. But like we talked about at the top of the show, it's easier for people to just buy the cheap food, 10 for 10, get your Campbell soup that's, 3D printed.
3D printed Campbell soup, right.
Because that's the world that they're trapped in, trying to feed kids, go to work, make ends meet. It's super easy to prey on those that can't afford, to eat better or to make better decisions around the house.
Right. I mean, we live in a world where, right, it's inverse, which is demonic, or communism. Communism is a manifestation of the devil in a physical form, and it always deals with the inverse, in which it's more companies have to pay top dollar making their products more expensive to tell you and I that they're organic, but organic means natural and God-given from the earth in a proper form, where junk food companies don't have to certify that they're selling you poison.
Right.
It's kind of interesting.
So therefore their food is less. But they should have to certify it and put liability coverage on it, making it more expensive because it's synthetic, rather than there was no such thing as organic 30 years ago because it's from the earth. It's just naturally grown. It's a normal system of growth, and it's inverse now.
Well, and another problem with the natural organic foods specifically, I was in that industry for a while. I read a report that they did a test on a natural organic product. I won't call out brand names per se, but let's just say this pasta sauce versus this pasta sauce, and the natural organic, vegan, earth-friendly, ingredients. It was the same product with a different label on it. Yeah. So you have a lot of that going on with behind-the-scenes marketing.
100%.
USDA organic, fresh. It's not.
Right.
It has all the same garbage in it. I'm not saying every company, but this is happening a lot.
Yeah, and it does. And again, that kind of gets into like the obfuscation of it. But why should companies have to pay extra money to tell you this is just food, normal food?
Well, it's because they're trying to keep them down.
Correct.
So there are, I do want to say this, that there are a lot of amazing, good people. I think there's more amazing, good people on this planet than bad ones. The unfortunate thing is that the bad ones have infiltrated the highest levels of societal decision making, and so that's just crazy. And then same with like smart water is actually worse for you than like most waters. Like they label things to mislead us into believing that we're doing something that's helping us and it's actually harming us. And it's tough for people to like acknowledge that, because when you acknowledge that, you're acknowledging that you were fooled, and you have to admit that like I was wrong about what I thought and what I believed. And it's so embedded into us since kids, like, and our parents, like, until people know, they don't know, so then they teach their kids the same thing. Like they're just as victimized as everyone. There's just so many layers here. And
so the American Revolution from the British was only like 5% of the population grabbed the bull by the horns and did it. Most cultural revolutions, whether you're looking at the American Revolution, the Communist Revolution, the fascistic revolutions, are led by 3 to 5 to 8% of the population.
Civil War.
Yeah. So it's not hard to see that a small fraction of the population can be leading the rest of the globe right now. But, you know, I would agree that to your point about people needing to recognize, to me the question is, when you look at like the Big E files, to me the question is not why are they, it's why wouldn't they, if no one is ever going to hold them accountable, because no one will ever hold themselves accountable for getting duped. So, and again, I'm not saying why wouldn't they as an acceptance of what they did in on that island. I'm saying it is, well, you know, I had someone say to me a couple weeks ago, well, there's all these PDFs in those files. And I said, well, you're just saying that because it's a Trump thing. I told you this 10 years ago and you mocked me for saying Pizzagate. Where's my apology? Mm-hmm. Didn't get one.
Yeah.
So that person's still not holding themselves accountable. So why would these people? So the question isn't why would they, it's why it's why wouldn't they? Because there's no accountability, because most people don't hold themselves accountable for getting duped by this garbage.
Mm. Yeah, I just don't know if I see that changing on a mass scale.
I don't either.
It's slowly happening. It's slowly happening, but is it going to be quick enough, fast enough to create legitimate results? I mean, we're talking about horrible things going back 30, 40 years, just in the Big E files specifically.
Sure, 70 years, right.
Probably a lot of other similar activity taking place God knows where.
Correct. Right now, it's not even that it ended.
Right.
It's not that, you know, he didn't, you know, he's you know what we can say on the YouTube, but, you know, he you know, dispatched himself and the whole thing ended.
It's still alive and thriving.
He's like one out of a, you know, barrel full.
Yeah, and like we talked about, it touches into the cryptocurrency. It touches into the 9/11. You know, it ties into some very, very controversial conspiracies, if you will, that have been going on for a long time. I mean, we were tested with that in 2001. You know, 2012. Would we have SARS? We've had all these different things happen over the years.
AIDS.
Right. There's been a lot of choice points, but to your point, the accountability piece is what's difficult, I think, for people to accept. You know, that fear of new information, the fact that they got duped, until that human behavior changes. It's going to be the same dog and pony show.
Same dog and pony show. The word is hubris. It's essentially a Greek word, biblical term, that means extreme arrogance to the point where you allow self-harm or someone to harm you due to your arrogance. And that's what we're seeing now. Like, great, okay, so, you know, that person I was talking to accepted that, yes, PDFs run the world, but, you know, you were made aware of this 10 years ago. And then when you voted for the guy who won in 2020, was president until 2024, and his daughter's diary showed on page 67 and 68 that Daddy Arden teed her every night, and you put your head down and said I was a kook, this stuff's not happening because of me. I'm acknowledging it. I'm confronting it, right? It's happening because people won't confront it and won't acknowledge it, and then they get these sugar highs, these bumps of truth, and they get a truth high, and then it fades off and away they go.
But whose truth, right? That's what's been interesting, because the information in these conversations, I mean, shout out to Alex Jones, Eddie Bravo, a couple names that I've heard talk about these topics since 2016.
Yeah.
Right. And so at that point, these guys were just nutbags.
Yep.
Right. No credibility behind them. They're just tinfoil hat wearers like you wore on one of the episodes.
Yep.
And then so what has changed, though? What is now causing people to be like, oh, wait a minute. There is something to this. Is it because some mainstream media outlets are touching it? You know, because I talked to some of the boomers. They're like, I've been hearing this in the news now.
Right.
Does it have to get to that level?
Yeah, and that's sort of like, I mean, the TV box is a great arbitrator of truth, you know, the great inquisitor, you know, and unfortunately it does, but they're not, you know, they're not swinging for the fences there. So,
because look who they work for.
No, exactly.
It goes right back up the ladder.
And that's why when we touched on, you know, I made mention that the youth is gravitating either towards like a more, it's autocracy either way you look at it, whether it's the people who voted for Mondami who now have to shovel their own streets because they're broke, or, you know, the Nick Fuentes group who just a couple days ago was like, I'm telling you guys, you're going to get a fascist in 2028. It's coming. Gen Z's all about it. Like, that part of this cycle has yet to come, and that's why I don't think that this moment is the, oh my gosh, break out of it moment. We still have more to go in this pendulum swing, and Gen Z is really going to be driving that momentum, and it's pretty obvious what they want. They want instantaneous solutions. They want a boot put down, bam. They want it to grind to a halt, and they don't care at what level of authority has to be used to make that happen. That is not the first time that we as a people throughout 150, 200-year period have seen that.
Well, now we live in a time with podcasting, with the YouTube channels, the independent journalism, a lot different than what we saw around 2001, 2008, you know, during those election cycles and different things that were happening. So I think that's kind of also a big game changer, has been the ability to have multiple sources for information, multiple sources for communication, and then, you know, their base sticks with what they have to say and they buy their products. It's a business, essentially, but it's not just turn on the TV and watch the 5 o'clock news anymore. We have all these other sources of information, and you know, it's up to the individual to figure out where they want to get their info from. I mean, if you're still tuning into nightly news with whatever his name is,
right,
you're going to get the same thing, right? You're just in that cycle and not switching it up. Yeah,
you're in it. You know, and again, it's just a matter of what curveballs are coming next. I mean, you're seeing Mexico get lit on fire. Not surprising to see.
Guadalajara's in bad shape.
Yeah, you know, the whole Venezuela thing, and then, you know, I heard everyone how it was going to take down the deep state, and we're going to get all this oil money, and we're going to write it off the books of the Fed, and da-da-da, and then that was like sugar high for 2 weeks, and then the next thing.
It's a dopamine hit.
You know, it is a dopamine hit, and they're coming quicker. Now, because of how much media there is, people are kind of junkies these days for the next part of the cycle. When we were growing up in the 90s, the nightly news was the dopamine, so you know, you at least had like 24 hours between your fix, and now it's just, you know, constant, seismic. And I think people want that dopamine more than they want solutions and truth. They want that, you know, because some of this stuff I'm hearing is just wackadoodle.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you see the word obliterate a lot. Oh, they, you know, this person obliterated this person on Twitter, career ending. They tweeted back to him, bro.
Yeah, it's all clickbait. It's satire.
You know?
It's keyboard warrior bait.
Hyperbolic. Yeah, it's just
and people fall right into it, though.
They do.
They get a dopamine hit off of that, and then they'll share it with a group chat and get excited about it and get people riled up.
Yeah, let's all complain and get negative together. So this is one thing that I recently heard a creator, and he was talking about doom scrolling and why it's so bad. And he explained it in a way that I want to share, and just so anyone listening or watching, and so you two can hear this as well. But when you're doom scrolling, you're seeing, like, let's say on average 60 clips an hour, at least. They're like a minute a clip. Each single clip that's made has an emotion tied to it from the creator. It might be positive, it might be really negative, it might be funny. either way, we are absorbing those emotions. And while we're constantly absorbing these external emotions, we actually aren't even feeling our own while we have to process this emotional input. And so when you are scrolling for a long time and just receiving, you're actually really disconnecting from your own truth and your own stability. And when I heard it broken down like that, I literally have not been looking at I've cut down my scrolling tremendously since I learned that perspective, because and my emotional stability is so much better in the past couple weeks.
It's a big statement.
So it's just a way
really
to look at it. It's just a way, like
my wife said there's a new trend for people to go analog. People are taking analog time where they're doing like hands-on activities. Going back to what we touched on previously in this conversation with the EMPs, you almost wonder if the theory behind the graphene oxide is true, and any of that could be intercepted or amplified through the energy you're getting off your phone.
Well, that's the whole 5G thing as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like, you almost sit there and wonder that amplification there as part of the larger plan of mind
Just another one that I
control.
used to think sounded crazy as F.
Is the 5G.
But now I'm like, it doesn't sound that far-fetched.
No, not at all.
Even simply put, it's a frequency.
It's a frequency.
That's being broadcasted out. And frequencies have been proven to have an effect on human
100%.
behavior.
Yeah, whether it's a drum beat,
right,
or a whistle, or someone screaming or laughing, or, hearing a river, or a dog. I mean, they don't really hear what you say. It's just frequency of what you're saying.
It's like a form of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then how they're like embedding lower frequencies in popular music to get people to love this artist, love this music, and it's actually decreasing your conscious collective. It's like taking away your energies, the music frequencies. So Kevin, one thing that you were getting on that I believe in to be true even more now is like listening to different frequencies to heal yourself.
I've been doing that for about a year.
Oh, nice. What do you explain it? What are you into?
I pretty much try everything. For a while I was doing like a little bit of psoriasis when I was drinking heavy alcohol.
Yeah.
And so I started like skin healing frequencies.
Nice.
And I'd listen to that while I would sleep. I do it both subconsciously and then sleeping, just having it on the background, just seeing how I was feeling to it.
Sure.
Now I'll just do like general spirit cleansing kind of frequencies.
Yeah.
That sounds a little hippie or whatever, but it doesn't hurt. I sleep great with it.
Yeah.
And I think there's benefits to it. I mean, I've heard people have cured abscesses and wounds through frequencies.
Yeah.
So it's just another tool in the tool belt.
Yeah, that's natural.
In that post-World War II kick that I'm always on, right? Rockefeller, who that name is in the Big E files quite a bit. The Federal Reserve funded the communist takeover of Russia, and Rockefeller put some money there, but then sort of did a risk hedge and funded the Nazi fascistic regime in Germany, right? Pushed them together. So for his return on investment afterwards, he brought over the pharma companies, and that was his sponsorship that took anything of that sort, buried it, called it kooky, slandered it in the media, put it into TV shows that you're a hippy dippy doodad if you do this, but you're ultra progressive and smart if you do this. So that was his doing there. It's not to say that stuff doesn't work. It's to say that people have floated so far away from it, and statistically speaking, if you look at what people call modern medicine, I mean, it empirically doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And correct me if I'm wrong, you don't go to doctors.
I haven't been to a doctor in 15 years.
Yeah, I did spend a couple few for me. And I don't really feel the need to. I mean, unless, God forbid, I break a leg or something and have to have some emergency treatment there. But I've never trusted the medical industry. I don't trust the big narrative, the big motive.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have your best interests in mind, but they make it seem like they do.
Well, it's even like, all of a sudden now Mexico's a big thing and people are talking about drugs and drug overdoses and we gotta bomb them. Oh, okay, so 80,000 people a year OD and die on fentanyl. 250,000 people a year die from medical advice, not ODing on their medicines.
Talking about that?
It's right. So are we gonna start bombing domestically? Because that's been going on for 70 years. So it's just incredible how the data doesn't stack up to arguments, and you bring data to the table and people don't want to see it. or hear about it.
It's uncomfortable.
It really is.
It's uncomfortable to like acknowledge this stuff. Like even after spending weeks trying to fully deep dive and acknowledge it, like, whew.
It's exhausting.
It is. It's mentally taxing, and that's where I think there's a balance to it, right?
Yeah.
Like of enjoying life, doing things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
Taking that information with a grain of salt, not saying throwing it by the wayside, of course, and be like, oh, that doesn't affect me, not my problem.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's a balance.
Yeah, it's out of balance, and in fairness, the boomer generation had quite a bit of balance and threw balance into the 86 bin, and now things are totally out of balance.
Sure.
And I think that's what Gen Z is hungry for, and they'll take balance at any cost.
Right.
And I think that if where are we going to be at in 28 through 32? Those are election years through 36. You're going to watch a balance come through an autocratic system.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming, and people will want the balance more than they want freedom.
That's probably true. I mean, it's being groomed to seem that way.
Totally.
I do feel like Gen Z is waking up, and kind of millennials as well. But definitely Gen Z is
elder millennials.
Yeah, they're not drinking as much as like we did when we were kids.
That's for sure.
And so there is, I feel hope that there is an awakening, and that is by acknowledging difficult truths and keeping your energy right. So yeah, Kev, you're completely correct, man. Like it's important to know, but to absorb this and let it become part of who I am is something that we all need to protect ourselves from that. Because then we just get obsessed with how bad it is.
That's where they want you.
And then we're missing out on the beauty in life.
It is.
Divided. Divided is always going to be a place of strength.
It's almost like a catch-22. Did y'all ever read that book?
I'm familiar with a lot of what's in it.
Yeah, it's a grinder. The Hulu did a series. I'd watched the series. The book, I've read it twice. It's a grinder. It's that cyclical, I do this, it causes this, I'm back to here. I do this, it causes this, I'm back to here. I do this. We need a solution to the current political state and track of this country. That takes a lot of effort. Those efforts seem to spin off into just more of the same. People put their heads down, stay in their micro environments, macro gets worse, and it's sort of like self-perpetuating. I think because this cycle is going to play itself out, I think acknowledging what's going on, and like we said at the end of the last episode, coming in, getting small, preparing for yourself for this to get worse, because there's not a whole lot any one individual is going to do to get this done. And, being happy and joyful with the time in the moment that you're being put in this historic cycle is super important, but not being blind to where it's going and in the momentum of it.
I think that's all we can do.
Yeah.
You're right. And not be like, I don't want to talk about that. That's uncomfortable. I hear that a lot when these kind of topics turn up.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I'm not going to push it and be like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't want to talk about this? That's not. But this is, an opportunity to do it, and that's why I love our platform and we're able to do that. One of the things you said on I think it was the tinfoil hat episode I wanted to come back to because it was one of your predictions that has kind of come to fruition. We talked AI, we talked about cybersecurity, we talked about security in the streets and how they're monitoring facial recognition.
Yeah.
That's fully happening now and being like erected as we speak.
Yes.
It's happening.
100%.
You walk out of your house, you're being tracked everywhere you go. That's already happening with our cell phones, but now it's been taken to another level.
Yep.
And I guess I'm concerned and curious as to where you have that and then AI, deep fakes, things of that nature. What is that going to look like?
The coming autocracy. I rarely fly. Post 9/11 when they started to force scan people, I made a commitment that I would just travel the absolute least that I possibly could, and I've held true to that for 25 years, 26 years. When I travel now, my wife and I are one of the only people that opt out of that face scan that's at every airport now. But if you drive around Highlands Ranch, Aurora, Littleton, the smart lights are going up. The Trump administration has done more than any administration to speed and accelerate this up. Solari report done by Catherine Austin Fitch is tracking that progress. and the Trump administration hands down is accelerating it. On day 2, we had Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, and I don't know, one of those other clowns in there talking about it, Stargate, saying that we don't really even need elections and democracy. We just need organization and central planning. So yeah, it's here. In the mountain town that we live in, the King Soopers has now installed an absurd amount of cameras in there. So they're picking locations in which they're starting to confirm data. Sports stadiums are now doing eyeball scans in and cardless concessions. So they're targeting specific markets that may have pushed back in other areas. Flock has their government contract. Ring is now linked with Amazon, and then they got called out, so they came out and said that they weren't, but I don't believe that at all. So that web, the control grid, is definitely accelerating.
Shutting our power off, buddy.
Oh, yeah, they started to shut our power off, too, because the wind is windy.
Right.
So that was
with
cool.
The underground power lines?
Yeah, 5 days we went without power in my neck of the woods because the wind is windy, and it was like 2 hours of wind. I didn't get out my windometer, but judging by the creaks that my house makes when it's windy, I didn't hear any additional creaks. So anecdotally, I don't think we set any records up there. Then also empirically, my question is, how many trees fell in my neighborhood? How many of those trees hit power lines? How many of those power lines fell down? How many of those power lines would have caused a fire had the power not been turned off? And I'm pretty sure the answer is 0. Mm-hmm. So again, we're just being duped into agreeing with the safetyism.
And you're crazy if you think that this is engineered and planned against us.
Yeah, I mean,
you're just crazy.
Immediately, just in the general neighborhood, because we got together with some people and then we went down to the liquor store and they cooked us hot dogs. You can just hear it. It's called supplied answers. You can hear it in people's speech. I walk in and I go, "This is retarded. I cannot believe we're doing this." And right away, people go, "It is, but it is, but." It is, but everyone is pre-programmed to give supplied answers. But, it is what it is. No, it isn't. We're being abused. It isn't what it is. We're being abused.
Well, I will go down in saying this, that 2020 was one of the biggest social experiments that got a lot of us. It just went over all of us.
PSYOP.
5 billion people.
Huge.
Yeah.
PSYOP.
Yeah, 5 billion people.
I can say that with conviction from how I feel.
Yeah.
Now, how other people feel about that, that's your own battle that you have to fight.
Oh yeah, I've been on that hill for a while, and I've got a lot of blowback.
I still have family that doesn't speak to me from the COVID thing.
Isn't that terrible though?
Divorced for life because I spoke truth and called it what it is.
Or just had a different, you can call it speak truth, but just had a different opinion about it, a different viewpoint, research, however you want to word it.
Just not participate.
Just and it's well, this person passed away and this and that. How could you be, there's a lot to it.
Yep.
There's a lot of layers to it. And, like I said, 2020 was a choice point.
Yeah. And, another choice point is coming soon. You look at what's going on in Mexico. You look at what could pop off in Iran. And the domestic false flag that's sure to come is brewing. What that is, I don't know. Is it coming? 100%. And then that will push people to participate in the grid.
And one thing I'll say about false flags, because that's another term that people blow back on, right? But, you get would you call them supplied answers?
Yeah.
False flags don't always mean that it's completely fake and staged.
Right.
People are compromised.
Yeah, manufactured.
Yeah. Lives sometimes are at risk.
Or taken.
100%. They're monsters.
Well, yeah, right, because the people in the Big E files are doing it at scale.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Without anybody's best interest in mind.
Theirs, right, because it's a fetish for them, but not you and I's best interest. Right. Yeah, because we're the goy. We're the goy. So we're the subhuman animals that just get taken to the slaughter. Yeah. So
it's crazy. So things that we can do. I kind of want to, because we're scratching the surface.
Yeah.
And the conversation could keep going.
Yep, it always does. We're on year 7, brother. This is a conversation that never ends.
Right.
And we always look forward to having you in, for sure.
I love getting that text and that phone call the other day.
Yeah, quick turnaround
always,
on that.
Yeah, always pumped to be on. Yeah.
But my point that I wanted to make to kind of try to end with some optimism here. We can start cooking at home. We can save money doing that. We can go on more walks. stop looking at our phones so much. One thing that I really like to do is visualize myself as a beacon of light that obliterates the darkness. And that's empowering to me as an individual. It feels, and sometimes I feel that definitively, that I am a beacon of light in society, and I demolish. There's no negativity that can even compete with the pureness and the positivity that I'm radiating with my word choice, how I am selfless, how I don't cut corners. So it takes a lot of self-work to find that inner strength, but I feel like if we can change our self-narratives to a narrative of empowerment, of control of our own emotions, and control and change what we can actually control, and also not being silent about this, because if we choose to be silent, then we're choosing to accept it, and that's something I refuse to do. And this podcast was really important for me to have a full podcast dedicated to this subject, and it's a subject that I'm going to keep throwing out there and bringing up, because to be the beacon of light, we have to shed light on the darkness.
Can I just try and take that just almost to the next level?
Yes, please.
So what you said is true, right? Focusing on yourself and projecting the light, spot on, right? My challenge to people, though, is if you look at COVID 19 being here, I was practicing habits, and there's plenty of us, 15% of the population, that are practicing habits here, and here before it happened. So we were ready when COVID 19 happened. Our habits were pre-built, and we did not give in. I was telling people for decades that government's coming for us all. Ha, 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 you're a kook. Mm-hmm. I never dropped that from my internal being. I do what I do. I don't let people tell me what to do. I didn't give in. So as people are following through with your advice, make sure you're also ingraining in your brain, not just in the easy times, but in the hard. Not just in the easy times, but in the hard. Because there's still hard times coming. And if you really want to shine bright and be a warrior, you're going to have to do all this stuff. You're still going to have to go for a walk when they tell you to stay indoors. You're still going to have to cook your own food when they say just...
There's a sale.
Yeah. Here's a pill to take that has all your nutrition. You're still going to have to say nice things when they say wear a mask and don't talk to people. So all these things you're practicing today in the good times, make sure you're ingraining it in your brain that you can also do them in battle as well, because that's really what will make you a warrior for what's to come.
Preparation is the key.
100%.
To battle and
Mental.
success. Yeah.
I told myself for years, when things are challenging, I will not falter in who I am, and I didn't at cost, and I don't care, because that was my commitment to myself and my family, was not to falter on what I knew was true before the event happened, and I held those truths as the event played out.
That's all we can do.
That's it.
And you're in good position up there. I mean, I've been to your place. We won't disclose where it is, but you grow crops. You've got chickens. You're doing controlling what you can control on the food side, and just being prepared.
Control what I can control, and it's going to be the everything where COVID 19 didn't really end. It just sort of mellowed out, or is being replaced to some capacity, maybe not as intense, but this is still a warrior time. This is still time for people to be courageous. This is still time for people to shine bright. I think it's going to amplify again.
Yeah.
But it's not like we're in off season right now.
I don't think we'll see what we saw. I mean, I could be wrong, but as far as what everybody fell for and was muzzled up for, I don't know if we'll quite see that again on a global scale. At least you said 15%. I would say probably it's closer to 40% now that wouldn't kind of follow the marching orders. They've tried, right? Measles is a big one that's being thrown around right now. I've been hearing that for weeks, months. This person came through DIA. That's how the last shit started.
Right.
This person traveled through here, so you better be careful.
Yeah.
The experiment goes on.
Yeah.
But people are waking up. People are learning. I am optimistic. Like you said, pendulum is swinging back. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
It's going to take time. So let's take the lessons from 2020. Let's apply those. We got the big E-files out, right? Information's coming out.
Yep.
It's coming out daily. It's probably dropping as we speak. Maybe we bombed Iran by now. I don't know.
Could have.
But, it's not going to change what we have to do as individuals tomorrow.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah.
It's time to be the light.
It is.
We need to. We're in a spiritual war right now.
Yes,
I'm
we
not
are.
religious, but I have no joke been looking at crosses online. I might just start wearing one because of this atmosphere. Like I've had a pull to being definite with something that is greater than me, that is positive. And I feel like if it's through religion or through, just being involved with the divine energies that exist, like now's the time to tap into it. Like that's really how I feel. I'm not trying to be religious at all, but all the cuckoos were correct the whole time, it seems like. So like, you tell me, people. Like that's how I feel right now. It's crazy.
It's been fun to watch Art kind of go through the Doom series,
Yes.
and kind of dive into this shit and get fired up about it.
Mustard seeds.
Yeah. I was like, man, like some of those episodes with Mike, I would be like, man, he's saying some wild stuff. And then like as it's been going on, I'm like, you know what? Like, just like what's his name?
Alex Jones.
Yeah, Alex Jones. I used to just like ugh, and now I'm like, maybe I was off about Alex Jones. Like maybe the dude knew what he was talking about.
Well, keep doing your own
rewriting
research.
the narrative.
Yes.
And keep planting your own mustard seeds and let it continue to cultivate out from me to you to someone else. So
that's all we
love
can
it.
do for sure.
Yep, you
Good
bet.
words, Mike.
Thanks
Yeah.
as always for having me on.
Great episode. We'll do it again. Come up to your house, hang out, have some fun.
Let's do it.
I'll
Yeah.
bring the missus with me next
All right.
next invite.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry I
Looking
didn't make
forward
the
to it.
deck party.
That's all right.
You
The
missed
deck
out.
looked great though. I saw the picture.
We'll have another.
That was a good party. That was a good party. Right on, brother. Well, thanks for being here.
Yep.
Hopefully we didn't hurt too many feelings on this one. I think we were pretty cut and dry, straight to the point.
Right to the
Yes.
point.
That's what we do.
Hey, everybody out there, be good to yourselves. The world deserves it.